What's the plan if something goes completely wrong today? Whether it's a customer issue, an employee issue, a financial or a cash flow issue, or just an operational hiccup. Well, I'm going to give you 3 biblical strategies to help you with your crisis management. Hear me out. Well, first, when a crisis happens, let's talk about what happens to you as a personal, as an individual, with your emotions, with your thinking process, and everything else. First of all, you are just overwhelmed with stress. I mean, the stress hits you like a wrecking ball in all reality. If you're working on something, right, and like your employee comes in or a customer calls and just gives you the most terrible news that something happened, you forgot to do something, whatever it is, and you go into crisis mode. You are so overwhelmed, you're so stressed. This is really an immediate reaction to a crisis. Just a sudden pressure of responsibility. The stress is unbearable. Like you pretty much are like frozen in your tracks. Whatever you're doing, you like freeze. You can't think. You can't think of anything to do next. You're just frozen. You're like, the stress has hit you and pretty much almost made you paralyzed, right? That's the initial reaction. That's the first few seconds, right? You freak out. And then all of a sudden, this fear and uncertainty hits you like a brick wall, right? Like a full bag of bricks. Like imagine a brick wall that just collapses on you. That's fear and uncertainty. Like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? What will I do? What's going to happen? What if whatever I do to fix it makes it even worse? Goes wrong? How will this affect me? Oh my goodness. Like whatever the situation is, right? And then you have like this crazy pressure to make a quick decision. Like you gotta act fast, right? And all of this happens within really not even 30 seconds. You go through all these emotions, right? So you have this pressure. Like in a crisis, there's often little time to deliberate, or at least you feel like it, and you panic and you're like, I gotta do something. I gotta make this decision fast. I gotta get this done, right? But then as a business owner, whether you have employees or not, whether you have a virtual assistant even or not, it does not matter. You feel isolated. You feel like this during a crisis, like you are the only one who can make this decision, who can settle this. And you're really, really pretty much, you feel like on an island all by yourself, right? And this really, really some health effects. I mean, like I've personally experienced, there was a couple of situations, like especially in the beginning and stuff, when I had like just one employee and something happened, I mean, I work in finance for accounting. We have customers that we do bookkeeping for, and like we request documents. We can't finish bookkeeping because we don't have like the loan documents or whatever. And then all of a sudden, they need to get another loan or something happens. And with finances, it's usually really, really tight deadlines and stuff. But I mean, like I've had this happen multiple times, especially in the beginning of my business when I started like having employees. Like my employee comes in, there's a customer mad, customer yelling, and it's crisis mode, crisis management. And I've literally, like my body took a toll, right? So there were times like I literally had to leave the office because I just felt so drained and so overwhelmed that my body could not function. Like I've been there. I've done that. I've handled what I thought was good way to handle, crisis mode, where I panicked, I had fear, I had pressure to get it all done. I made quick decisions, I got it done, everything, and then just completely so stressed, so drained that I had to go home and like literally take a nap. Okay? So, what are the 3 biblical strategies that really, really will help you? And this is actually before you have to even make a decision. The first one I want you to think about, and I actually want you to pray this over yourself every single day. I personally do. One of my favorite Bible verses is John 14:27. That's when Jesus talks about when he leaves, he's going to give us peace, right? And the part of the verse, this is just a part of it, not a full verse. It says, "And the peace I give you is a gift that the world cannot give." So basically, the peace that God can give us does not even exist in the world. Like, you cannot experience this peace unless you're with God, unless you request that peace. So, the first strategy, the biblical strategy, is God's peace. Whenever a crisis hit, you need to, I don't even want to say stay calm, because the calm is not even that. You need to have peace. Okay? And personally, even say, I proclaim God's peace that does not exist in this world over me right this moment, in this time. So God's peace is so important, because when you're stressed, when you're freaking out, when your employees are freaking out, when you have a customer yelling, whatever the situation is, when you have a creditor calling and saying, "Hey, you need to pay this invoice or we'll shut down your internet," whatever the situation is, you need to ask for peace. It literally takes 2 seconds. Within those split seconds, ask for God's peace. Claim that peace. The peace that does not exist in the world, claim it over yourself. It's going to take a few seconds. Use those few seconds instead of falling into panic, into crisis mode. Use those first few seconds to request God's peace. Now, like I said, it's been years and stuff like that. And again, with finances, there's always a crisis. There's always a deadline. There's always an emergency all the time. Like, this is a daily basis. And a lot of my employees already are handling it because of the way I react. They handle it with more peace. Now, there's sometimes a customer who was just unbearable or unreasonable. Sometimes it's not even a customer, just someone mad. Even. But anyways, so, when a customer is calling, like, even when I'm on the phone with them, while they're yelling, whatever, while an employee comes into my office and is saying this customer is yelling at them. I mean, honestly, we don't have very many customers yelling at us. Very, very few. Extremely few. But we have customers who are upset, not upset at us, but are upset at the IRS. And then you're like, how can the IRS send this letter? And, things like that. The other situations. But in general, don't think our customers are that mad at us. They're really not. I have the most amazing customers. They're awesome. But if a situation does arise, when my employee comes to me, while they're still telling me what the situation is, I literally proclaim God's peace over me in those few seconds. And again, it just takes seconds. And all you need to do is ask. Remember, this peace does not even exist in the world. And I basically say, I proclaim the peace that does not exist in the world, but is God given to me in this moment in time, right now. So that's number 1, is God's peace. Number 2, fear not. In the Bible, it mentions fear not 365 times, pretty much for every day of your life, right? In the year. Now, when a crisis happens, fear, like an uncertainty, hits you like a brick wall falling, crumbling on you. So I like to remember Isaiah. I know, like I said, there's 365 verses, but I particularly like Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. And again, all you need to do is pray. I will not have fear, because Isaiah 41:10 says, do not have fear, for I am with you. Even in this crisis moment, God is with me. So basically, you have peace. You're telling yourself not to fear. You're telling your body, you're telling your mind, you're telling your emotions to really calm down, but you're using actual Bible verses. Okay. So the first two things are really for your emotions, for your mental health. Now here's the last part. This is where you actually you're able to handle the crisis because you already have peace that this crisis is going to be handled. You already don't have any fear because you already know you're going to handle the crisis, like it's going to work. So now that you're calm and your brain is not freaking out, you're able to actually think. Now, I'm like pen to paper kind of person. I have notebooks everywhere. So I literally take my notebook, flip the page, and I literally list from this situation, what are the top 3 things I need to do? What is the most important thing that I need to do right now? If something happened in the past, you can't fix the past. It does not matter what happened. What do you need to do right now, today, to fix it? If you're having an issue with a customer, for example, right? If you're like selling items and you mailed them an item and it came in shipping wrong, whatever the situation is, the customer is calling you, they're so mad that you didn't pack it right, whatever the situation is, you're freaking out because first of all, it's going to cost you money, right? Because if you're going to tell the customer, hey, I'll send you another one for free. And if you're not really making any sales, that's already another like money lost for you. So that's a crisis, especially if you're like a small business owner and you're like by yourself or just have one virtual assistant or whatever, right? So take out a piece of paper, write down things. Or like a customer is wanting a refund, but you're like, you didn't have many sales and you really don't even have the money to send them for a refund. You know, it happens with businesses. Cash flow issues happens all the time. Again, I'm in accounting. I see it all the time. So now that you have God's peace, now that you are not in fear, you've calmed your mind, body, and emotions down, now you can prioritize. And one of my favorite verses on that is commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. So I will write it down, top 3 things I need to do right now. And I literally pray over them, and I say, whatever I do, God will establish my plans. God, these are my plans. I commit them to you. Please establish them. If I need to do something else, give me wisdom to change them. And whatever I work on prospers and succeeds. So there you have it. It might not be something that you thought I was going to say, but again, 3 things to deal with a crisis is God's peace. Nothing can replace God's peace. Fear not, because when you're in fear, when you're in panic, you cannot function. You cannot allow your brain to think. And then prioritize. It does not matter what happened. What do I need to do now to fix it? Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to visit our website at christianbusinesssisterhood.com for more resources and information. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and leave a review. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update. As a side note, if you ever need tax or accounting services, feel free to check out my business, Golden Apple Agency, at goldenappleagencyinc.com. Thanks again, and until next time.